Alright, hi guys. So as mentioned in my previous video, which was the post game week 1 video, I said that my next release will be on the wildcard and some other bits and bobs. So let's get started. So obviously in my second video that I released on my channel, I discussed in length the changes. So in particular the chips of all out attack, bench boost and triple captain. However, there's a few things I want to address concerning these three, but this video is quite focused on the wildcard because there are changes in terms of how the wildcard should be used in this season compared to the previous seasons in fantasy. So one thing I think I mentioned in video number 2 was the possibility of exploring triple captain and bench boost in the same week. And this was, I think I was referring to a double game week. So in particular, when a team has two fixtures in a single game week. However, that's not possible because it states clearly in the rules section in fantasy that you can only use one chip in a single game week. So yeah, but end of the day, the kind of philosophy behind that, the thinking behind that still remains. I still think that you want to be using these kind of incentives or chips most likely in a double game week. That's just my personal opinion because I think there's a far greater reward possibly from doing it in that game week and getting it right. Having said that, of course, I've seen people, for instance, this week, triple captain Yaya, triple captain Coutinho, and of course, they've got some very good points from that. So that's perfectly fine. And there is the chance that you could, triple captain somebody who gets 2 points, so 4 points in a double game week, and so it ends up gets you 12 points, and that's not really that exceptional. But I still think if you get it right on that double game week, you're really getting some serious points. So I guess it's like a probability game, and I still think it's favored towards a particular week when a player plays twice, and especially someone for like a big team, which is likely because of FA Cup, Carling Cup, Champions League. There's always a likelihood that some big team will have two games in a single game week later this season. So just want to make it very clear that you can only use one of the ships in a single game week. Now, of course, if you guys want to hear more about all out attack, bench boost, and triple captain, do check out my second video on this channel where I do discuss these three in detail. Now, wildcard. Traditionally, the wildcard was kind of you're given two, but you're given one that you can execute at any point during the season, and the second one was available when the January transfer window opened. So essentially, the second one I'm talking about was kind of it gave you the opportunity to kind of embed any new players that came into the Premier League, or get some players that transfers or etc. So, and the first one was just there throughout the season. Of course, if you've got problems in injuries or fixtures, etc., or you want to get a certain player in, because sometimes a player is so expensive that you can't get him in just by doing 1-2 transfers. Sometimes you need to do 3. So the wildcard was a great way of kind of doing multiple transfers in one go for several reasons. However, the rules have kind of changed. You actually have one wildcard available to you for the first half of the season, which is until 28th December at 2 o'clock, and the second wildcard, which is available to you for the second half of the season until the season ends. And this is important to mention because I think before the mentality was kind of hold on to your wildcard until it's the right moment and then execute it. Whereas here it's kind of saying if you got a problem until 28th of December, and whether injuries, fixtures, whatever it is, don't be afraid of using a wildcard because at the end of the day you want to be using a wildcard at some point if you've got it, and especially if it's got like a expiry date, then you want to exercise that option. However, I don't think anyone should be really considering a wildcard right now. I mean, for the next 4 or 5 fixtures, just because when you've made your team from game week 1, you essentially had a wildcard, and you should have already have taken account into fixtures and everything. Of course, if there was so many injuries flying around, then obviously maybe then you might want to consider doing a wildcard, but that's not the situation right now. So I think that's a very important point in regards to the first wildcard that you have available to you during the first half of the season. Don't be unaware of this fact that it has an expiry date of 28th December, and if you can, if there's a situation where you're considering doing changes or injuries, whatever, don't be afraid of using it. Now, second is obviously the wild card that you get after in the second half of the season, and I think this one is probably best played at the moment once you've seen all the January transfers happened. Last season we saw some teams, especially near the bottom. So I'm talking the teams in the relegation zone, get some players in, like Sunderland got Defoe. I think Hull got Ndoye, even though that wasn't enough to keep them up. But these teams do buy players, for significant value in order to survive, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of money in the Premier League. So you do ideally want to wait until these teams have done their transfers, and maybe consider using a wild card to get some of these players in your team. So, but of course, you had that wild card until the end of the season, and you could even possibly use it in preparation for double game week. However, you've got to be very careful, because it's here only one chip can be played in a single game week. So if you use a wild card just before you have that double game week, then you can't use your bench boost or triple captain. So what you're going to do is kind of prepare yourself in a week in advance. So that's something to kind of be wary about, and make sure you remember that, because that's an important part of kind of using the rules and not falling into a trap of ending up in a situation where you kind of need to use more than one chip, but you can't in a single game week. So that's fine. And I think there's also another thing about how you can cancel any chip before the game week deadline. I think this is in relation to all-out attack, bench boost, and triple captain. However, the wildcard chip, once you've done the transfers, then it can't be cancelled. So yeah, and that makes sense. So that's what I want to discuss. And I think the second point I want to mention is I saw a lot of people play bench boost in the league, and that's fine. I mean, of course, whatever I say doesn't need to, it's not exactly it doesn't need to be 100% executed by everybody else. But the whole point of bench boost is that you actually do have some players on the bench that are playing, and I saw a lot of people using this when they've got no players playing on the bench. So I mean, what's the point of that? I mean, unless I'm confused, but unless you're getting points from someone else's bench, but I just don't see how in any way is it beneficial for you. So I think it's a word of warning that, I mean, it was so obvious to me that I didn't feel like it needed to be mentioned, but only use bench boost ideally when you got players on the bench that are playing, right? Otherwise, don't bother using it. Save it for another game week. It's game week 1. There's another 37 game weeks coming up. So, okay. And is there anything else I want to mention? I think that's it, Again, if there's anyone else watching this video who's not in the league, do join it. I've attached a code. Will be on the pre-game week 2 video. So do look out for that. That will be at some point on Friday, most likely around this time, 6 o'clock in the evening-ish. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed my video, and talk to you guys soon. Take care.